Hello, friends. Happy Thursday. Week 2 here at Spike Week. And we're going to draft some teams. We're going to draft some Week 2 teams on Underdog, Fantasy, and over on Drafters. See if we can't take down some sweet Battle Royale and Drafters money this week. Seems like a good day to have some fun. I think we could all use some fun and some fantasy football on this lovely Thursday. Let's do it. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Spike Week. I'm, of course, Erik Beimfohr. And if you have not joined us, if you didn't join us last week, I guess I should say, on Tuesdays, we recap the week. On Wednesdays, we dive in to a game by game, position by position. We're breaking down everything in week 2. And then on Thursdays, we are going to draft some teams. We're going to hop over to Underdog Fantasy. We're going to hop over to Drafters. We're going to see if we can't take down some of these week 2 tournaments. A big old face plant for me cashed like 2 teams or something in week 1. Not my absolute favorite week, although I was very excited to have a bunch of Harold Fannin saving the day, saving some min cashes was Harold Fannin at the back end of the roster, completely unowned. I think we made some fun plays. Jameson Williams was a core play for me last week in these drafts as a sort of scroll down low owned option. And buddy, was that incorrect. We hammered the elite quarterbacks, Lamar and Allen, on Drafters, and that was great. Shout out to them for saving the day. Zay Flowers saving the day. The Lamar and Zay stacks, Derrick Henry, Josh Allen, Keon Coleman, all really good. Dalton Kincaid even with a touchdown. It was a lot of fun last week. We didn't quite put all the pieces together. Not enough Bijan, not enough of the running backs as you might imagine, but we're going to see if we can't get into it today. If you have not subscribed over on Spike Week, not to the YouTube channel, if you have not subscribed over on Spike Week, the week 2 rankings are up. You can find them here. You can get the top 72. We added, we're moving to 72 moving forward, a top 72 every single week. I'm going to get separate rankings together probably this afternoon for the Drafters slate because they have a slightly different slate. But for your Underdog drafts, shout out to Viper in the Discord and the Dog Bowl champion of 2024. Shout out to him for the big score last season. Was looking for a set top 72 because there are 12-person drafts on Underdog. Maybe we'll hop on in there as well today. So you can get a full top 72 in 12-person, 6-man drafts on Underdog. So we've updated that here. These will come out on Tuesdays every single week. At some point on Tuesdays, you have to make sure that the slate is out on Underdog and all that kind of stuff. But we will have these rankings up for everyone every week on Tuesdays, of course, for the subscribers on spikeweek.com. Let's just go ahead and hop on over. I see you guys' questions. Let's go ahead and hop on over into Underdog. No prime time. I'm not a huge fan of the prime time tournaments. I understand if some people are. Not my particular cup of tea. Let's get into the main $7 Battle Royale tournament for week 2. See if we can't put together the winner. Let me go over here real quick. And the Draft Hacker does not work for Battle Royale drafts at this moment. If it is something of interest to people, you drop a comment. If you are a Draft Hacker user and you're really passionate about your Battle Royale drafts, by all means, if that is something that is of enough interest to everyone out there, we will add it. Not currently something that we offer at the moment. Let's see. Good morning, Mac. Happy Thursday. Nothing better than some fantasy football. And like I said, I think we could all use some fantasy football on this wonderful Thursday. Looking forward to an awesome game tonight, by the way. Who do you like better this week in full PPR, Jameson Williams or George Pickens? That is a great question. Let me hold on. Let me fix my screen share here, and let's share this window so we can check this out. I'm about to be on the clock, but I want to make sure Jameson Williams 22nd overall, George Pickens 30th. So I'm actually going to go with Jameson Williams here. Those rankings are a little bit funky. I'm going to do Chase. We're going to do Jamar Chase here. Those rankings are a little bit more geared towards these drafts, of course, where there's an element of uniqueness and lower ownership and such built into the rankings that are up on the site. So it's not a perfect parallel, but I do still think I would side with Jameson Williams. I'm very excited for the Lions this week. I'm also excited for the Dallas Cowboys and the passing game there, though I think that their matchup is a little bit trickier. It's not that the Bears defense is like bad, but I think this is like such a prime bounce back spot for the Detroit Lions. That's one of my stronger takes, if you will, of the week, is that I think this is a great bounce back spot. Obviously, I just drafted Jamar Chase. I think it's a great bounce back spot for the Bengals, but I think everybody thinks Bengals, right? Jaguars passing game, just week 2 being kind of a bounce back for a lot of these offenses that we thought were going to be good coming into the year. And I don't think that the Detroit Lions are going to be this awful offense that we saw. My takeaway is, of course, some concern about the Detroit Lions. Like, aren't you worried, right? Aren't you worried about the Lions? A little. I think the offensive line was the interior offensive line, right? The new 2025 Lions interior offensive line was a pretty real concern in week 1. But I also think my biggest like sort of takeaway from everything that transpired in that game is that the Packers defense is pretty awesome. So that bled into tonight as well, that I'm not super bullish on the Commanders offense as a whole tonight. They're really good on offense. If you got Jaden Daniels on teams, you're starting Jaden Daniels, but I'm not like super duper high on that. Oh my. Well, I guess I can only imagine that this is quite popular. The Chase BTJ shootout here at wide receiver. Let me think about this. I wonder how popular it is with Lamar, though. If that's interesting. Let's try it with Lamar, actually. And now let's have a little bit of fun after the top 3. I would imagine, just my guess. Hello, Jerry. Thank you. I'm certainly not feeling. I appreciate this. Shout out to Jerry. My dog, who is laying right here. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? One of the two. My dog was sitting here dreaming really hard, and somebody was on they said they were in the comments or in the chat said they were on a bike ride, and my dog's dreaming was so loud it like almost knocked them off their bike, which is really funny. But he's also laying right next to me here again, and he is apparently taken to a nice howl. They are Husky Shepherd mix dogs, so there's a lot of howling from these two. But 4:30 in the morning, we live like in a town, like 40,000 people or something like that. But there's like a little kind of like some wooded areas in our general area, like small wooded areas. I think my current guess, like there's coyotes and stuff in there, that I think that like that's my best guess, is that they might be howling that I just can't hear, and the dogs can hear it. But he's taken to the old howl at 4:30 in the morning. So I always kind of have bags under my eyes, but we got the bags under the eyes. We're working on some caffeine. We're working on some caffeine today. So sexy is not the word that I would use for sure. I'm actually in Illinois, so I'm just across the river from St. Louis. Like, takes me 20 minutes to get downtown St. Louis, but technically in Illinois, right? We border right next to St. Louis. Favorite DSTs for DFS this week? Oh, that is the Broncos number 1. The Broncos number 1. Damn it, there's Burrow, of course. Okay, do I do? I think I'm gonna. Where's Andrews now on this list? I think I'm interested in Let me think about this. Let's just lock up Andrews. Let me think about this other spot a little bit here. I do not hate James Cook or Brees, that is for sure. Let's go Brees and then find something fun for our flex spot here. That's a little bit more off the beaten path. Make sure we give ourselves something fun here. Just thinking about. Let me go to Roto Grinders, where I of course do some work each week. I just want to scroll through the DSTs to make sure I am Broncos for sure. I do actually like the Ravens. They're really, really expensive, but I really, really like the Ravens. The Browns are like the talk of the town, right? Or I hate even having to say this. I'm super jazzed up for Harold Fannin. I'm super jazzed up for Dylan Sampson. I think we should be excited about those Browns bags, but I'm not so sure about this week. I know Josh Allen just cooked up the Ravens, particularly in the second half, but the Browns looked quite bad against what I still think is going to be a terrible Bengals defense. So I kind of like spending up at defense a little bit this week. Ravens look good. Broncos look good. I think the Cardinals look good. Again, the Jaguars ended up being a really good, one of the best plays on the board. Were they the highest scoring defense? They were up there. Colts and Jags, I believe, were up there from a DST perspective last week. I played a lot of Texans and Rams, which was completely fine. I don't want to do the Lamar double. Let's get rid of no Zay. I don't hate the James Cook thing though. I think we might just take the projection here. I know I was just saying let's get a little fun, but I think I'm just going to take the James Cook projection here. Play into that game. Lamar to Andrews, got the Chase BTJ in one game, got the Brees James Cook in the other. I'm into this. We're just going to rip some drafts, talk some whatever, right? If you got a DST question for DFS, if you have a basketball question from KD, yes, I posted. Yes, I was trying to troll my good friend Kevin Roth and TJ Zwarch from Roto Grinders that we've been talking crap back and forth over the course of the baseball season about basketball. So I wanted to. I go to the gym several times a week and play some ball. So I wanted to just troll them a little bit. I'll have to take another one. We can't be missing jumpers in the troll video, but we're just going to rip some drafts, have some fun. Of course, talk through some BR strategy for this week. But if you have questions, like I said, you have DFS questions, you have BR questions, you have start sit questions, you just want to chop it up, right? I think that's what we're here to do on Thursdays. Have a little bit of fun. But anyway, yeah, Lamar Andrews is one of those that I'm really into this week. Tight end is bad, especially on the main slate. But really, we removed Tucker Kraft and Zach Ertz tonight, which is like not a big deal. But then we do have 3 more primetime games, Sunday Night Football, 2 Monday Night Football games, of which Brock Bowers is one of those. George Kittle is out. So we have Trey McBride, and he's definitely a big priority for me this week. I want to have a bunch of Trey McBride because I think he's the guy that can just totally gap the field here, right? But the kind of fade week 1, which would be now Lamar's awesome. You can play Lamar no matter what, but fade the Zay Flowers explosion heading into a little bit of a tougher matchup against the Cleveland Browns. Denzel Ward did a really good job in week 1. I think the Browns defense is tough, and I don't expect Isaiah Likely to play again this week. So we can get kind of oh man, Andrews did nothing, so now nobody wants him. But we were pretty excited for Andrews without Likely for the first couple of weeks, and that has faded off of one bad game. I kind of like the bounce back spot here for Mark Andrews. How did your first quarter teams do? I did 50 first quarter teams. Should we do where's the 12? Let's find the good Lord, they have a lot of drafts here for which one is the 12-man drafts? This is out of control. Shout out to Underdog for the menu of of drafts. Which fucking tournament is the? Here we go, 12-person drafts. Good Lord, there's so many. I couldn't find it. $75. That's hilarious. I would like for you guys to be able to get in there. I don't want to make you guys get into a $75 tournament. Let's just do the regular BRs. Let's do a handful of these. We'll rip a handful of regular BRs. My first quarter teams, like I said, I drafted 50, right? So I just did the first quarter. I didn't do first quarter number 2 or whatever it was called. I just did the first quarter, did all 50. I got nine out of 50. So not awesome. Oh, it was okay, right? It's okay. Not like upset, but not super happy either. Pretty close to expectation. Though I'm reasonably excited for those teams. Reasonably excited for a bunch of I can pull them up. Thank you, Colin. I can pull up my first quarter teams here in a minute as well. Let's just look at it live. I don't think I sent them over to Draft IQ. I don't think so. How much? Yeah. So this is part of my my concern here is I don't have a ton, or I do have a ton of the 49ers. Okay, we're gonna go over here. The 102 again. Shout out to me. That's a limb week 2. Here we go. I hate this layout. Holy shit, I hate this layout. Here we go. All right. Exposure. Troy Franklin, 89%. 89. So 8 of my 9 first quarter teams have Troy Franklin. Also Pat Bryant, which doesn't look so good. You clearly saw what I was trying to do. If you recall, the Broncos play the Bengals in week 4. So my hope was to get to week 4 with a Bronco on my team. Let's do a CD team this time. That's probably my other favorite game of this slate, though I mentioned that I really like the Lions. RIP 56% Jalen Coker. I was hammering Jalen Coker in these drafts. I was hammering the Broncos, all of them, but especially the wide receivers. Dylan Sampson, Will Shipley, RIP, Keaton Mitchell, RIP, Chris Brooks, but Zay, we got on there. But what I am excited about is a bunch of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Luckily, one Purdy left on the first quarter teams, though I have 20% Purdy in my remaining eliminator teams. So let's see here. Yeah, 20% Purdy left in the eliminator and 26% Kittle. So that's certainly not ideal. And Keaton is my highest running back. So not an awesome start in the eliminator, but I do feel generally pretty good about the teams that are left. And we're going to build this Dallas thing again. Now we're going to build a different game stack here. But I have a good clip of San Francisco. I was taking a lot of Kittle and a lot of Purdy, a lot of Pearsall. So if some of these teams have to die for the Pearsall teams to thrive, I got more than 20% Ricky Pearsall across the board. Actually, let's see how much total Ricky Pearsall I have. CD and Neighbors. Yeah, come on. Let's take these 3 and then let's actually let it rip a little bit on the rest of these picks. Okay. If you have your Spike Week subscription, use this Draft IQ tool. It's pretty fun because you can go look at literally combine all, if you play on Underdog, you play on Drafters, you play on DraftKings, you play on Fast Draft, whatever, you can go to, this all tab. Of course, you can go site by site. You can go, my head's in the way here, but there's a drop down right here that you can go tournament by tournament. You can go what we call slate by slate. But I enjoy, especially at this part in the season, looking at something that is interesting for me, just from an all money perspective, is that Dylan Sampson is not my highest owned player from an overall exposure. That is Will Shipley. What a surprise. But Sampson ended up being my highest like monetary investment. So that's fun. Kyle Manungai actually up there really highly as well. Io Manor, Franklin. So feeling solid about that. But we wanted to see Pearsall. 20% total, right? So 17% on Underdog, 20% on DraftKings, 22% on Drafters for Ricky Pearsall. So feeling pretty good about the Pearsall. And like I said, it sucks. You never want. I'm overweight Purdy and overweight Kittle. You never want those guys to, you never want guys you're overweight on to miss time. But again, if certain teams have to die for other teams to fly, you win in this, right? With your best team or your best teams, you're inherently going to have a bunch of teams that suck. And it would be nice, right, to advance absolutely as many teams as possible. But so long as you have some stacked teams heading into the playoffs, it's all we can hope for. Roheen advanced 83 elims and have matchups against Shady and Crane, rooting for Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, Tillman, and Josh Jacobs. Pretty good group to be rooting for. It is cool. I didn't go through all my head-to-heads, but it is cool to have some of the head-to-heads. I still don't like the format all that much, but it's a fun little feature. How worried are we about Purdy being a multi? We're very worried. They basically confirmed today that it's going to be multi-week for Purdy. I'm worried for Purdy. I think only have for Superflex. I see you. That's a good question. I mean, I'm very worried. I'm exceptionally worried. Let's just do Dak now. And then I want to get some I did BTJ. I should have done ETN on this team, but I'm gonna go do a little I want to get me a little bit of J.K. Dobbins here in BR. I think I mentioned Denver being like my favorite defense. I think Denver is in an outstanding spot against the Colts. Probably a little bit overrated Colts team after week 1. It's in Indy, but I'm not that concerned. I think the Broncos come in and kind of roll here. And so I would like to get some exposure to the running backs. I do think J.K. Dobbins will continue to lead that backfield to start this season. As excited as I am for RJ Harvey, I think that's something that will come over time. But I'm definitely very concerned about Brock Purdy. Absolutely. So how desperate to get? He's definitely going to be out for, whether they say 2 to 5 weeks for Purdy, something like that. It's a variant of turf toe, whatever the fuck that means. Like, weird. Strange stuff. So I don't really know what that means, but I don't get the warm and fuzzies anytime a San Francisco 49er is injured. They haven't exactly been super forthcoming with the information about them. And it has gone worse than we hoped, like every time. CMC, Ayuk, Kittle, Pearsall got shot. Like, it's Garendo is constantly hurt, and I guess still hurt. I don't know. And anything out of San Francisco feels pretty uncomfortable. Derrick Henry's going to do it again to us this week. I just mentally prepared myself. This is a tough spot for Derrick Henry. He can do it against absolutely anyone, and he can certainly, they're going to score points, so he can certainly score touchdowns. But I think this is the inverse of the spot that he was in week 1, the soft Bills run defense that just let him run wild. He's not going to see that against the Browns. So yeah, the old Ben Johnson revenge game this week. It's also a Lions revenge game, though. So one thing that's, God, am I really going to make this a big stand about Brees? I do maybe want to do Connor, Travion. Let's do Tony Pollard, actually. He's another guy pretty high up in my ranks. 32 for Pollard. That seems fine. Let's get, I'm a fucking idiot. I already have all three of those guys. Let's do Brenton Strange. Stack up Lawrence also without him, of course. Dak outscores Lawrence, but Brenton Strange scores a touchdown here. A little bit of a goofy team because I'm a freaking idiot and forgot I already drafted BTJ. But I want to get some Pollard in my portfolio as well this week. You saw, in the top 36 for me. Pollard reminds me a little bit of the Andrews thing, but at the running back position where he struggled in week 1, and we're kind of like, oh yeah, remember all that excitement we had for Tony Pollard in the first month of the season without Tyjae Spears? Like, screw that. Who cares, right? The Rams defense is good. But I think they feasted on the pretty bad Houston Texans last week. Now the Titans are probably not going to be awesome, but I think that it's another similar situation to be like Tony Pollard is going to get all of that work in that backfield, and there are not that many people we can say that about, right? Now Christian McCaffrey is a different beast, but we're drafting Christian McCaffrey in the first round with Mac Jones and no one else because he's going to get all the work, and there's Tony Pollard down here who's going to get all the work that nobody wants to draft. He projects well on this week for sure. So Tony Pollard, one of my kind of scroll down favorite running backs. I thought coming into the week, I would be like, oh, we got to really spend up. And I do like the spend ups. Obviously, you have Henry and Saquon, CMC, of course, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, right? These guys are great. But I don't love this middle tier of HN, JT, Kyron. Those guys I don't love. And then I do very much like Brees and James Cook, Travis Etienne. I like. Yeah, I don't think the Titans defense I think is not bad. Now the Rams defense is not bad either, but I'm just lighter. I'm not a huge Kyron guy, which is funny because I drafted the year. Shout out to me, the year that he broke out. Came out of nowhere from the last round or whatever. We got onto Kyron really heavily here, and it's what saved my season essentially. I finished top 10 in Best Ball Mania basically because of Kyron Williams. That was the Kyron and Puka season. The Rams have 2 interior offensive linemen injured with sprained ankles. Their offensive line was already a little bit rough. I'm leaning a little bit more into the Pollard side of things. I think he can catch more passes, even though he did not from Cam Ward in week 1. And I'm interested in a Titans bounce back after last week. So let's do. I really should do a Saquon team. Let's do a Saquon team. That's fine. A Saquon McBride. Let's do Saquon McBride. Oh, sorry, J Mike. I saw your question. Can you speak? This is a great question. Can you speak to the tension you feel between all of the work you put in with rankings and all that stuff in the offseason versus the urge to respond to react to what happened in week 1? It's an awesome question. I think everybody struggles with how much do we wait? Right. How much do we wait coming in our kind of takes that we built all summer over the course of the summer, and those can evolve too, right? The May takes are different than the August takes, than the right before week 1 takes. The takes can evolve. And then what happened in week 1? I try not. It's interesting because I try mostly from a DFS perspective and stuff, and a battle royale perspective and all that, to not even worry so much about the takes, but trying to spot the exploitable opportunities that I think where are our opponents in these specific games, right? The draft games, DFS games, where are our opponents over or under confident in what happened in week 1, right? Zay Flowers is going to get all the targets for the Ravens, or JSN, his target share is going to be absolutely insane. Those kinds of things. I mean, I like Zay Flowers. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba, but the market, I think, is going to be very, very excited for them because of that 1 week sample. And let me think about this real quick. Let's do Fields and Garrett Wilson. I'm also a big fan of that stack this week against that Bills defense. I like the Jets a lot overall. I like the Jets a lot. But separating the kind of like game theory element of it, I do tend to be really cautious about overreacting, but it is very much a case-by-case basis. This tension that you're describing is, I think, the single biggest pain point for like anyone in the space, and not even just like in the space, like you guys, right? Like anyone who's playing fantasy football or betting on football or whatever. You come in and you said, the Texans they're gonna bounce back this year, right? They're gonna be awesome. And they come out and they look horrendous, like truly horrendous. And like, well, what do I do? Do I stick with that? Or do I stick with it was just one bad game? Or do I say, oh my gosh, it was so bad in that game, like even worse than I ever could have thought, for the Tech, even for me. I was not very excited about the Houston Texans. The Rams were like my favorite, defense play last week. But I try to treat it like an absolute case by case basis. And I try to really dig into the context and like nuance of every game. Why I do like to watch, at least for the first, 6 to 10 weeks of the season, make sure you're watching every single game and like really seeing, so like the Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt tonight. I'm exceptionally excited for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt over the course of the entire season, but I think this specific week is going to be a little bit tricky for him. I'm not as bought in this week. Let's do the JMO. Let's do JMO. And then I said I need to get Tony Pollard, right? Is he gone? Did one of you assholes take it? No, okay. And I said I need to get Tony Pollard. So let's do that. I'm trying to get some JMO. I'm trying to get some Pollard. And I want to have Fields to Wilson stacks. And I want to have about as much Trey McBride as I can get. But to this question, sorry, trying to draft while answering a really thoughtful and kind of nuanced question is I'm not doing one or the other like at a blanket level. I'm really trying to see, is there something here that like isn't being represented in the box score? Is there something here that like, oh, this guy didn't earn targets, but XYZ happened, from a schematic perspective, from what have you, Torrey Horton doesn't get a target in week 1. Like, is there anything underneath the hood that I can see as to why this wouldn't be? Well, they didn't throw the ball very much, blah, 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 blah. Going case by case. And oftentimes it's also, I think, more reasonable to just say, I don't know, right? Like the Torrey Horton thing. Was it just right? A week 1 rookie. They really just built the plane around Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they really went into a shell running the football, right? On less than 25 pass attempts. Not great. But it also could be, maybe Torrey Horton just isn't that good. And he's not ready yet. Maybe he will be later in the season, but it's okay. It's okay to accept that you don't know. And oftentimes better to accept that you don't know. But then those I don't know situations, right, from like a managed league perspective, are where, like definitely not like starting Torrey Horton, right? Unless this is an absolutely insane deep league or something. Figuring out when to plant your flag, when to like ease off a little bit, and when to just like kind of shrug, do the shrug emoji, I think is really powerful. And we're never going to be perfect at it, just like we're never going to be perfect at it over the course of the entire summer. But it's like really valuable to spend the time to be like, okay, do I really still believe in this thing? Should I really back off of this thing? Or can I put my kind of hands up in the air and say, who knows, right? Who knows how this thing plays out? We can develop takes on all of the different stuff, but we don't have to like think we know all the answers to everything, because we don't. You know what I mean? But tension is a great word that you use because it is something you feel every single week. Luckily for us, like in these games and stuff, I really want to try to spot the situations, not that I'm necessarily right about, but that I think the market could be the most wrong about. You know what I mean? Like if they're wrong and like Jahmyr Gibbs should actually be the RB1, because his usage was actually everything that we got excited about, but now we're a little bit down on the Lions and we're more excited for Derrick Henry or whatever. Now we're not into Tony Pollard. Now we're not into Mark Andrews. Now we think the Colts are decent, even though they just beat the freaking Dolphins, the corpse of the Dolphins. Got to get some Puka this week for sure. Got to get some Puka. We have Puka like third overall. So I have CMC 1, Chase 2. Still trying to figure out what to do with CMC from Brock Purdy is hurt perspective. But I think he's still probably the 101, but it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit trickier now in half point PPR. I think if you wanted to fade him in half point PPR, it's reasonable. It's certainly risky. He could absolutely bury anyone. This is the Saints, and it's Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get the ball a lot. But it's another situation where we're looking at Christian McCaffrey. We thought he would get a lot of work coming into the season. The house is on fire around him. And now Gibbs, Puka. I also want to get some Drake May in this tournament. Let's do the AJ Brown thing. Speaking of bounce backs, this should theoretically be a really good spot for the Eagles passing game. Another guy I want to get my hands on, AJ Brown. But unique team, yeah. But spending the time, like I said, on that's really what I spend the majority of my time on. Is not so much like, am I right about this thing, but is there something that could be missed, that could be being missed? That's what I'll have the blueprint up on the site for like DFS and these draft games later this afternoon. But that's like my general thesis of week 2. It's not so much like, what do you believe in the most? It's more so like, what does the market not believe in, right? What happened in week 1 that, oh God, the sneeze is coming. Oh God, it's a big one. It's a big one. What happened in week 1 that the field is not buying into, and what happened in week 1 that the field is like really heavily buying into? And then like, how real is this thing? And those are difficult situations to evaluate, but they kind of just like fading what the market is saying. Like I gave an example from it ended up being 2021. Oh, I don't have it up yet. 2021 or 2020, one of the two. Yes. I was even playing DFS back then. It was a travesty. But it was a fun week 2. One of my favorite week 2s maybe ever. Probably my favorite week 2 ever. Speaking of unique, let's do the Drake May team. And then I can stack him with Hunter Henry at tight end and not have to do. I don't hate Kayshon Boutte. I don't hate Stephon Diggs, but I want to put Hunter Henry in here. Travis Hunter, interestingly, on there. It's a pretty good click. I talked about Tony Pollard. I also think Calvin Ridley is quite a good click here. I do have Puka, of course, on this team. I'm all rattled from the sneeze here. But in week 2 of I think it was 2020. Devontae Adams went absolutely apeshit in week 1 of that season, like 14 for 170 and 2. And he's coming in, they're playing the Lions. This is not our current Lions, which I don't know if that's good or bad. This was old school version of, there goes Pollard, that's hilarious, of the Lions. Don't have ETN yet, right? Get some ETN against the Bengals. Week 2, Devontae is like overwhelming chalk. And as you know, like in these DFS tournaments, the pricing generally doesn't catch up right away. Right. And so Devontae's like reasonably affordable. We have the value to fit him. He's not. No, this is peak of his powers, Devontae Adams. Heading into week 2 against what was then like the worst defense in the league, the Detroit Lions. Terrible. And so Devontae's like 50%, but Aaron Jones just had a mediocre game in week 1. And so nobody really played him. Devontae's like 50% and Aaron Jones is like 10% in like smaller fields, larger, higher stakes stuff or whatever. Aaron Jones had like 160 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns and another 60 receiving yards and another touchdown. He went, for 50 or whatever in week 2. And it was just one of those where the field just said, well, we just have to play Devontae Adams. Didn't you see what he did last week? Didn't you see his role? And it's like, sure, Devontae Adams is great. Devontae Adams is playable every week, but 50% Devontae, they're both in a smash spot. They're both playing the worst defense in the league. But everybody was going to decide to play the passing game, and no one was going to decide to play the running game. Not all because Devontae was awesome, but like often because like, well, it feels really good, right? It doesn't feel good in week 2 to play Mark Andrews. It feels good in week 2 to play Zay Flowers, but that doesn't change the fact that Mark Andrews still projects well without Isaiah Likely. It doesn't change the fact that Tony Pollard still projects to get like every touch for the Tennessee Titans, right? The Lions stunk on offense in week 1. But that doesn't change the fact that they're still probably a good offense. It's just we feel worse about it. It feels worse. And like, how can we take advantage of those feelings and still spot some of these situations? And where, like with the Patriots are like probably my favorite example of this. Not so much that we're excited about the Patriots. It's kind of a double whammy. The Patriots were terrible in week 1, so we feel bad about them. But the Dolphins, go watch. I said it on Tuesday. I've continued to say it. I will continue to say it after they lose this week. And you go watch ESPN or whatever, and everybody, oh my God, Dolphins. Mike McDaniel's going to get fired. It's over for the Dolphins, right? That's the general consensus. And I agree. I think that they're cooked, but there's not that much love for the New England Patriots. Like, let's look projected ownership right now of the Patriots. 3% Stephon. This is on DraftKings.com. 3% Stephon Diggs, 3% Drake May, 2, Patriots defense. Hunter Henry, 2%. Right. There's no one is playing any of the Patriots. Drake May's 5,200 against the Miami Dolphins. Nobody wants any of these guys. Kayshon Boutte, right, is one of the talks of the town from a waiver perspective. And Diggs was bad, but he still got 8 targets, 7 targets. Hunter Henry had also eight targets, red zone targets, and the tight end position is terrible this week. And he's 2%, right? He projects for 2% ownership. We just said that the Dolphins are absolutely horrendous, that Daniel Jones cooked them, but we don't want to play any of the Patriots. So it's like those kinds of situations that I'm excited about. Another one, I did the neighbors Dak CD team. Now people are playing a little bit more of this one for sure because they project a little bit better. But the Cowboys showed some certain level of competence in week 1 on the defensive side of the football. Now, Deron Bland is hurt. One of their corners is hurt. Nice. It's nice for Malik Neighbors. But it's like the field is like so in. Like it's like we're dipping our toes in these waters of the, like CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, George Pickens, etc. But we went in a week and a half. We went from, oh my God, the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons. They're going to be so bad on defense. To it's the Giants. Do we really want it? Like, really? Like, Russ was bad. Like, are we really going to do the Giants stuff? It's like, isn't this the week to do it? Now, I will say the Jags and Bengals game is one that the field is like, I don't care. I know the Jaguars didn't look good. I know the Bengals didn't look good. I don't care. Right. And interestingly, they don't care. Do you notice who's not at the top of this ownership list? Chase Brown, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas Jr., Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Brenton Strange, Travis Hunter, Travis Etienne. Nobody wants to play Travis Etienne. The team just traded Tank Bigsby. Not just because they believe in Bashal Tootin, not just because they believe in LaQuint Allen, because Travis Etienne went for like 100 70 yards or whatever in that game. Now he plays this Bengals defense that we came into the season saying the same thing about with the Dallas Cowboys. We were like, oh my God, the Bengals are atrocious, right? This is the Coors Field of fantasy football. But 5,700 Travis Etienne without Tank Bigsby isn't someone that's going to be popular. That seems good to me. Why do I feel like I see your question, Eric? Why do I feel Eric with a CK? Not the worst. At least there's a K in there, so it's not the worst kind of Eric with just a C. Sorry to all my Erics with a C. And Erics are still better. It's just if we're power ranking, it's ERIK, ERICK, and then ERIC, of course. I don't know where ERIQ fits in there somewhere. Maybe ERIQ is second. Maybe ERIQ is first over ERIK. We'll figure that one out over the course of the season. We don't got to plant our flag on the Eric power rankings yet. But why does it feel like Amon-Ra falls in almost every BR Jeff? He's going to absolutely annihilate. It's a fair question. I think part of of course, this is what we were just talking about. The Lions sucked. Amon-Ra sucked last week. I think he's a good. I have him and JMO as pretty good clicks here. I believe I might be a little lower on Amon-Ra actually, but yeah. So I have him. It's very draftable, of course, but maybe just a tick lighter than you are. But I think he's a good. I just think you want to be in on the Lions this week is one of my takeaways. I agree. If you're watching right now, hitting that thumbs up button. If you're on the app, all you got to do is close that chat, hit the X button on the chat, and hit the thumbs up super quickly. That would be awesome. Thank you, Who Hames. Shout out to you. I got offered. Here's one. Let's skip all those. Let's skip those top guys and try to get a couple at the Trey McBride price. Him and Puka, him and Chase Brown, him and Brian Thomas. I think I would like him and Puka the best. Puka is just, like I said, I have Puka 103. I like the running backs fine. I don't think that the matchup is particularly great. My camera been acting a fool lately. I don't think that the matchup is particularly great for Saquon and Derrick Henry, so I'm going to be a tick lighter on those guys and then a tick higher on Puka, Gibbs, obviously Trey McBride this week in these drafts. I got offered Ken Walker and Tyler Warren for Bucky. I already have Bijan, Pollard, Etienne, and Hampton. My tight ends are Fannin and Ingram. That's a good question. Your running backs are really good, like really good. So I get that. I just don't think I would want Ken Walker. I would want to upgrade Tyler Warren. It's good. I would want to get a wide receiver, right? You don't need Ken Walker. The reason you're trading Bucky is because you're loaded at running back. Getting another nice McBride, Puka, get a little funky start there. Getting rid of Bucky, I think you would want to upgrade your wide receivers. You're obviously upgrading tight end, which I like. I mean, I like Fannin. I don't really want to be messing around with the Evan Ingram world. Certainly not in my managed leagues. I don't want to have to start him. And as much as I love Fannin, Tyler Warren's role was a little bit better in week one. I think you'd be happy with Warren and Fannin, but I think if you're going to ditch Bucky, I would like to get a wide receiver upgrade is my guess. Puka can get there without a TD, which feels nice in half point PPR. 100%, dude. When you're getting all of your team's targets, this is the bull case for JSN too. It's like he's probably going to get there, and then the touchdown is like, okay, yep, had to have him. Right, touchdown is 30 in half point PPR or whatever. Slight exaggeration, but you know what I mean. You get the point. I'm with you. I really think this season will be Puka's, says Roheen. Dude, he's so good. It's insane how good Puka is. Like I said, I have him 103. He's incredible. Let me think about this now. God, I know Russ was bad, but I cannot pass him. Third round Malik Neighbors. Nothing quite like a zero running back BR team. Puka, Neighbors, McBride. I like the pull up of McBride. I specifically like it because of Puka, but if you want to do it with Chase Brown, I think it's totally fine. If you want to do it with one of the elite quarterbacks or something, I think it's fine. But McBride has like completely and utterly gapped the field. I have him 9th, I think, 10th overall. So I did put Chase Brown in front of him in the rankings, but I think McBride can be that chess piece that you move around the board in week 2 because of just how much better he is than the rest of the tight ends. New to best ball. So sorry if this is a rookie type question. Never apologize for questions. Never feel like it's something that you can't ask or you feel embarrassed or anything like that. I do and say I'm 37 years old. I've been playing DFS since the beginning, since Draft Street, right? And the early days of FanDuel. I've been playing FanDuel. Once upon a time was a green. For people that don't know, black and green, just like DraftKings. I still do say and ask stupid ass questions. So never ever feel like, feel bad for that. God damn it. I don't want to do HN. Let's not do it then. Let's just not, guys. Let's not do it. I will do Justin Fields. I don't want Stafford. I don't want Russ, right? I have Puka. I don't want Stafford. I have Neighbors. I don't want Russ. I have Trey McBride. I'll be honest with you. I know it's Carolina, but I don't really want Kyler. I'm not sure that there's a real ceiling for the Cardinals. And I don't think Kyler should. I don't think there's a reason why Kyler should be drafted in every draft. But like Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Drake May are drafted far less. I think that's bad. But anyway, with most of your drafts being 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, don't week 1 injuries already wreck advance rates? Well, no. It doesn't help, but no. I still have a quarterback and a tight end. I'm not taking zeros. So and injuries. So the same can be said, right? If you draft 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, and a running back gets hurt, it's the same thing, right? Now you're worse at running back and you're worse at flex, right? Or you draft 6 wide receivers and one of them is Juwan Jennings. It's like one of them is Xavier Worthy. It's the same. It's the same thesis essentially. Is that no matter what you do, if you encounter injuries, it's going to hurt you, right? If you lose your 3rd round pick, like if you lost George Kittle on a 3 tight end team, it's like, okay, now you're probably a little bit weaker at the flex anyway. And sure, you have an extra tight end, but is the extra tight end going to gain you very many points in most weeks? Probably not. Okay, I did Fields, right? Do I want to stack Fields with Brees ever? Not really, but he was. Let's do that. Stack Fields with Brees. He's the second leading. He's basically the wide receiver 2 and RB1. A really good start for Brees. I'm really excited for Brees. Damn it, there goes ETN. It's remarkable how the Rams offense can be so effective with such unexplosive players. Yeah, like it is the interesting part about like player evaluation that we go through this. We want everybody to be 6'3", 220 pounds and run a 4.3 40 with a 42-inch vertical. We want, but really, really good football players come in all shapes and sizes. And it's like, we don't want to, right? Puka Nacua doesn't look, move, act like CeeDee Lamb. His prospect profile was not like Jamar Chase or Malik Neighbors or whatever, but guys can be awesome at this game in a variety of different ways. I don't want to do Connor when I have. Let's do Pearsall. Let's do Pearsall. We gotta have some Pearsall on these teams. What the fuck are we doing here? Got to get more Pearsall on these teams for sure. Yeah, McVay is just an absolute wizard, like an absolute wizard, man. He's nuts. Cards. Yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to score points. Their team total was pretty sweet last week against the Saints. So the question from earlier is, like, what's the tension of adjusting to week one? I will add to that when I had, McBride's one of my highest owned players. Where is McBride in my portfolio here? Like, I have invested a lot, right? There's a used Honda Accord, in 1990s Honda Accord on Trey McBride or whatever here, 21% across all sites. I'm heavily invested into Trey McBride. I have a good chunk of Marv and Benson. 10% Marv, not so much Connor, 20% Trey Benson. Like, I'm invested into this offense, but yet one of my sneaky suspicions heading into this season was let's do one more of these BRs here. That'll get me to 6 just on the show today. One of my sneaky suspicions was what I keep calling it is they're playing basketball without shooting 3-pointers is what the Cardinals are doing. There's absolutely no explosion in this offense. The offense is centered around some good players, but there's no juice, right? Michael Wilson, Zay Jones, someone needs to provide some field stretching and some big plays. It can't be reliant upon Marv doing this absolutely insane shit every single week. He could not do it last year, though he did look really good in week one. You can't put this much stress on Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride because there also isn't James Conner's not going to be ripping off 70-yard touchdowns. And James Conner's a good football player, but it's kind of one of those they put together. I don't know if anybody watches basketball. They watched the Houston Rockets last year. The Houston Rockets almost made it to the second round of the playoffs, right, where they were the 2 seed. The Cardinals could win this division, but they don't have the Rockets couldn't shoot. You make it to the playoffs, no matter how their defense, they had one of the best defense in the league, and the Thunder. But when you make it to the playoffs, if no one on your team can make a 3 or shoot a score from outside the lane, it's really hard to win playoff games. It's really hard to beat good teams. That's the Cardinals' problem. They can beat the Saints. They can beat the Panthers, whatever. But can they beat good teams with absolutely zero juice? I don't know. I don't know about that. Let's do the McBride thing again. See who's here at 8. We don't have to do Puka again, but see who's here at 8 to go with McBride. But that's my general take with the Cardinals is they are, let's do Chase Brown instead. We did Puka last time. In DFS, are you stacking Diami with Lawrence? No, I don't think we got it. I think Diami is kind of everything you hope for in a late round best ball pick. But we're not to the point of the season where I think we need to play guys that kind of project for 5 or 6 targets a game, project for lower level targets. Now, it's Cincinnati. If you need you need a punt in you're mega stacking that game, right? You're going to play Lawrence, BTJ, Chase, and T, right? Or you're going to play Burrow, Chase, and T, and BTJ. You need some savings. Tossing Diami on there, I think, is actually pretty interesting. Though Travis Hunter's not that much more expensive and has a little bit bigger role than Diami does. And then Brenton Strange. I prefer Brenton Strange, but I don't think it's crazy. But I also don't think I'm going to play enough lineups to get to Diami. So he's a fringy, large field tournament guy for me. Let's do a Lions. Let's do a Lions stack, eh? Let's do a Lions stack. I'm going to pull up. Let's pull up ETN against those Bengals. I think him and Chase Brown are fine together. And let's get some Goff action going here. Jared Goff is going to rip it up Do I want to just do probably just Amon-Ra, or also include? I'm going to put JMO in the queue, but we'll see if I want to do both of them. I would rather when I look. I'm never going to claim to be the world's best battle royale player, but I when I'm in the large field stuff, when I'm double stacking, I really do prefer it to be with the tight end position. Though Jared Goff being such a pocket passer, right? He throws for 404 or something here. JMO can certainly it's condensed enough that JMO makes sense. But I've also been, like I mentioned, trying to make sure I get more Pearsall, more Garrett Wilson, and I'm building certainly a very unique team. So we've already accomplished the uniqueness here. So let's do Ricky on this team and then Goff. I don't imagine Goff is going to get sniped away from me here, but yeah, they're done. Exactly. Don't be sick. Are you taking a portfolio view to BRs? Yeah. So how I like to do it is sort of, this is also how I do my best ball drafts. From a portfolio perspective, I kind of like to let it rip, right? Come in, drafts, like vibe out a little bit, because what you'll find, I think, for me, it's kind of like everybody has a plan until they get punched, until they get punched in the mouth. It's not that serious for fantasy football drafts, but you get into the drafts. I've found this every summer doing this best ball stuff. Every summer, I feel like I hop into drafts, and the teams that like I'm when I'm on the clock, when I'm hovering over the button, I end up clicking some things that are just a little bit different than what I thought coming in, or like when I put together the rankings, or when I wrote an article, or I however, right, whenever I was developing kind of my plan of attack, once I get in the drafts, once I start physically doing the drafts, there's some things that change in, like, I'm on the clock, let's do this actually, right? You said you were going to draft a bunch of Cardinals, but every time you get on the clock, you're like, I feel really uncomfortable, doing this. The reps help. So what I like to do, and what this show is helpful for me personally, from my process perspective, is I can come in, kind of let it rip, start to get a feel for the draft rooms, get a feel for who I like. And then once I get my first 5, 6, 10, 12, whatever drafts done, then we'll be like, okay, now let's see where my gaps are. And I'll go in and, look at my teams, right? It's really easy to log them from a BR perspective. Like, it's really easy to go in and see where your gaps are. How many of this player do I have? How often do I have Trey McBride with, right? And I'll develop a plan of attack for the combinatorial stuff from make sure I have, it's a lot of like, okay, who are my core guys, right? Like, so like Trey McBride, Puka Nacua, a couple of these scroll down options, right? Lions. Make sure I have those guys, right? Do you have Lions and Trey McBride together? No, you don't. Oh, whoops. Do you have Lions with CMC? Do you have Trey McBride with the Cowboys, or only with the Ravens, or whatever, right? And like, then I start to mix and match after I get those first X amount of teams done, if that makes sense. Amen. Best ball and call. Shout out to you. Thank you for the shout there. Jerry says, who will be drafted more in BR, do you think? That is a good question. I'm going to say, what's ADP look like? Did they go in this one? Hunter Henry, Juwan. I would still, I'm going to say Hunter Henry. I'm going to say Hunter Henry because of, absolutely no one is taking Spencer Rattler. And I think Juwan will get played more on the DFS side of things because he's a little bit cheaper and he had all the targets, right? So I think I would flip them. I would say, as someone who literally just drafted Hunter Henry, we're going to hop into the old whale over here, the $11 whale. Looks like I'll be 2 out of 5. So we need 3 of you fun fellas, ladies and gentlemen, to join the whale on drafters. I think I would actually flip them. Hunter Henry feels like a really good click with Drake May teams, but like, how many of the Drake May teams are going to have Hunter Henry? Probably an outsized number. Now, there's not going to be like a ton of Drake May teams, but you saw me. It's like, I don't really want to click Diggs and Booty that much in BR. And so I'm like, well, I can just fill the tight end position with Hunter Henry, right? And I can do what if Hunter Henry catches a touchdown, he'll pay off with my Drake May stacks. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of how everyone is thinking. On the flip side, no one wants to play Juwan Johnson because it's not a salary cap game and it's not PPR. And so Juwan is probably the better play, ironically, on Underdog, while Hunter Henry is the better play on DraftKings, even though it seems like it would be the opposite. Yep, I agree. What are players in this contest that you won't let them past ADP? Just Trey McBride because of the tight end thing, and probably, well, the top couple of guys. There's no one after probably McBride that I would be like, oh, this guy can't go past ADP. Everything else, like all bets are off probably after Puka. Puka is, to me, like arguably the wide receiver 1 in fantasy, and he does not get drafted like it. And Trey McBride is such a difference maker at the tight end position for this week specifically. No Bowers, no Kittle, right? No several of the other top tight ends. He is the standalone top tight end by a wide margin. He's also in a really good spot against Carolina. So Trey McBride, Puka Nacua would be the guys, like from them on up in the ADP, that I would not be letting past. Yeah, what the hell? Shipping It has done 37 of these whales already. Good Lord, man. Shout out. That's impressive. Tyler Warren plays Denver. Yeah, I'm not super excited for Tyler Warren. CMC Chase. Let's do Gibbs then. I don't know if you guys know, but this is full point PPR, and Jahmyr Gibbs had 10 targets last week. It's funny. Carolina also played mind-numbingly slow, says Shuby. Yeah, that's because they also lack juice. I mean, T-Mac has some downfield chops. Leggett was awful. I went back and watched. There's 2 plays that are really good throws from Bryce, like legitimately really good throws from Bryce, sideline throws, like 20-yard outbreakers. Okay, Trey McBride time. Like 20-yard outbreakers to Leggett on the sideline, where he just like doesn't get his feet down. It's like you can tell he still doesn't really know how to play wide receiver. He's an impressive athlete, but he really does not know how to play wide receiver. And it was not good. And like being worried about like that game. I bet the under on the Cardinals Panthers game. I think the world is pretty excited for it because the Panthers defense stinks, and they do. But I think it doesn't really matter with the way the Cardinals are playing offense. I got to do BTJ here with where I have him ranked in the top 5. I think it's a monster week for the Jaguars and Brian Thomas Jr. So let's do that one. Yeah, this is a pretty good comp, and unfortunately for Panthers fans, that's how I'm beginning to feel. It's early. It was week 1. He wasn't good in 1 week. Season's not over, but it was ugly. It was ugly. Speaking of betting, 43.5 in the New England Miami game feels high to me. Yeah, that's an interesting one for sure. I always forget that the Sunday night game is on here, so you have Drake London. There's a lot of values popping off the screen here. I'm gonna go do Brees. I'm gonna go do Brees, lock down some. The thing that I've noticed, this is certainly true on Underdog, but half point PPR being a little bit different on drafters for these first 2 weeks. My strongest take why Trey McBride is a priority. Why last week a little bit less so this week, but not too much less so. Do you like elite quarterbacks, Allen and Lamar specifically? You can somewhat toss Jalen Hurts in there. Not somewhat. You can toss Jalen Hurts in there. Why those guys are such priorities is because should I do the T thing? Let's see. I really do like Sutton, actually. Let's do let's do the Lions again. Let's do the Lions again. So this is the funny thing is on drafter specifically, like I said, it's definitely the case on Underdog, but just to a much lesser degree, that on drafters there are some. Yeah, exactly. Brees is wide receiver too. There are so many wide receivers that are playable, draftable later in these drafts that it's crazy. So as much as like and I'm going to draft Jamar Chase, like it's not that I don't want exposure to those guys. Those guys are monsters. But why maybe a Jahmyr Gibbs, why a Trey McBride, why some of those guys can be a little bit higher priority is there's just a depth of wide receiver. Right? No one's on bye. And then especially like the Thursday night football game, we don't really care about the Packers wide receivers for this format. We don't care that much. Like Terry and Debo are fine, but there's not like a lot of incredible wide receiver plays not on the slate. So there's just so many receiver options. And it is full point PPR. So, we can find some of the stud receivers further down the list. It's, becoming a running back bro is certainly not ideal. The brand is taking a large hit, that's for sure. But, adjustments have to be made. We have to be nimble. London, Sutton, T, James Cook go. How about one guy that I quite like in the vein of we talked about Tony Pollard, but Calvin Ridley this week as another nice bounce back spot guy. Got absolutely locked down by Patrick Surtain in week 1. Arguably the best corner in the NFL. And I'm totally cool assuming everything is fine. And now I know Mac Jones is playing, guys, but like there's also not really anyone else to throw to besides old Ricky P. Now I can sort of pick and choose at quarterback. We can do Fields with Brees. We can do Goff, of course. We can do Mac Jones. This is supposed to be Goff probably, but it's going to be pretty difficult to pass on Fields. It's also quite crazy that Joe Burrow is still here. Yeah, exactly. See, I do that. I will say I do like that part of it. So I like some of the earlier running backs. I like the earlier, this week just McBride, but I like the earlier elite tight ends. There's really only 2 left now, Bowers, when we get to these upcoming weeks without Kittle. But I like the mega ceiling tight ends. Will they hit the ceiling? I don't know, but they have the ability to just totally gap the field and be the guy you absolutely needed on the week. And I like getting those guys in, and then using the depth of wide receiver to build all the way out through the flex. Joe Burrow on average, I should have taken T, by the way. Joe Burrow on average goes 8th overall. That's really funny. We got to do Goff. It's got to be Goff. Is Jake Tungus draftable? I mean, tight end is really bad. I think that's a bit much for me. But he did catch a touchdown. He's Jake Tungus is like 26 years old. I thought he was like I had honest to God no idea who Jake Tungus was before. And I'm not saying like I know everything about the NFL, but I know like practice squad dudes, right? And like we generally keep a pretty good tab on. I would love to fill. Is there enough interest in the chat in filling one of these sharks, one of the two QB drafts? If there is, I'll pop in here because I would need 4 people. I understand it's $55, and I do apologize for that. If it doesn't fill, it doesn't fill. But I don't think I can get so deep in the bag to go to Jake Tungus. But I think it's Tungus. Tungus. I don't know. But that could be biased because I didn't know who he was a week ago. And I pride myself on kind of knowing all these losers, and I didn't know him. Exactly. It was I saw the touchdown, right? I was watching the game live and I saw the touchdown and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Dwelly. Really? You're like, what? Dwelly did it. And you're like, oh no, wait, who is this? Jake Tungus. Jesus. Let's. Ooh. Perfect. We can do a whale. We can do a whale while we wait for the shark. The shark needs 2. Sharknado needs 2. Get me a little Christian McCaffrey here in the whale, baby. Yep, definitely. Only 5 teams in these drafts, so sometimes you can get a real fall. That's what the ADP just really doesn't matter. It definitely doesn't matter on here, and it really doesn't matter for quarterbacks because some rooms you'll get the guys that take the quarterback in the first round. Some rooms, right, Joe Burrow goes undrafted. So it just doesn't matter that much. Who are your biggest fades on this slate? JT, Jonathan Taylor, probably Bijan again. I'm ready to be hurt again. JT, Bijan. I'll say JT for sure. JT, Bijan, nothing really at the wide receiver position. I mean, Tyreek, but is that like really a big fade? I don't think so. Tyreek, DK Metcalf, like no thank you. Anything at tight end? Kelsey? I'll say Jonathan Taylor, Kelsey. I'm not doing the Dolphins shit. So Tyreek. No real wide receivers that I'm feeling. Metcalf right now. No, but that's probably not surprising to anyone. No real wide receivers that I'm like Marv. I think Marv might be one that would be interesting to people, not because I don't like. I was actually really. I thought it was really bullish for Marv in week 1. I just think not to be all wide receiver cornerback matchups, but they don't move Marv around that much. And JC Horn, I think, is pretty good if he can just slow Marv down enough. I'm like I mentioned, I'm awfully worried about the Arizona Cardinals. So you kind of combine the two things. I'm just looking to get some money in elsewhere. There we go. Some positive news. Happy Thursday to us. Chris Godwin back practicing. That is why I think it's going to be a while still, but a positive development nonetheless. I think it's going to be a good while before Godwin is back. Okay, I already hate this team. But I mean, I'm sorry, Chase Brown, but if I can get Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, I mean, come on. Come on. And BTJ. Yeah, Rap said still not expected back before October. This is the progression of the Chris Godwin thing. He wasn't placed. So normally, right, when a guy gets hurt, injured, you would place, and he's going to be out for a month, you would place him on injured reserve. And so it was a little confusing when it first came out, like, oh, Godwin's not going to be put on IR. But then they're like, it's going to be, maybe a month before he comes back. Well, that's because you can't practice when you're on injured reserve, and he needs to practice, right? That's how he's going to get ramped up, is by practicing. So he's not going to play. Plus, this does give them the outs to week 3 or week 4 if they're feeling like he's ready to go, or they need, right? This keeps the door open that he could come back before, and he just really needs to practice. He hasn't practiced, all summer. He's worked off to the side, rehabbing and such. So that's the kind of Godwin thing. I still don't right, like Rap Sheet said, and I still don't expect him back before, end of this month, beginning of October. Any props stand out for you in tonight's game? We can take a look at some others, but the only one I have bet myself personally with my own American dollars is Ja'Cory Krosky under rushing yards. And it's possible I should have waited. I think the hype train is continuing for old Bill, and I understand why everyone is excited for Bill. Ooh, deposit match. Let's see. No, 40.5. But I like the under for Ja'Cory Krosky. Ooh. I don't want to do the Hurts thing with Saquon. Let's do Garrett. Let's do Garrett. Let's do this. We can take T. If I don't get Burrow, I'll do Lawrence. If I don't get Burrow, I'll do Lawrence. Let's do that. I need to have some of the, I haven't done the Burrow or Lawrence thing in that game stack yet. So betting against Bill feels karmically bad. That is certainly fair, but those are the exact spots, right? It's that you should. We feel like, oh my God, Bill's inevitable. But if you go look, like, he didn't really get on the field much in the first half. Now, I suspect he's going to. My expectation is he's going to get on the field more. But this is not a guy who's going to like get 22 carries. That's just not how he can be awesome, and he's still not going to get that much volume. It's his second game on the road. He can get game scripted out of this game. He can get absolutely game scripted out of this game, right? If they fall behind. That's not my expectation. But it's also a really good Green Bay Packers team on the road in Green Bay. That defense just completely shut down the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions couldn't run the ball. So, like, if Bill had not gotten out, right? If Grandma had, male genitalia, she'd be Grandpa. But if Bill had not gotten those 2 carries on the garbage time, very, very final drive, he would have had like 40 yards in last week's game on 8 carries, which is like good, but it's not like he's not like setting the world on fire, last week, even with the touchdown. So let's do Burrow went. Sutton. Yeah. I gotta get me some Sutton, and then let's do the Lawrence double. Let's do the Lawrence double with Brenton Strange. Strange is like a really good play, by the way. If you miss out on the superstar tight ends, I think Brenton Strange is a pretty awesome play. Yeah, and I do think, like, I'm a huge Bill bull moving forward. I think he's going to be great. I think any team that he's on, you should be super pumped for. You got him in your home league, whatever. You should be super pumped to have Bill on your team. Right. We'll find out in 12 hours or whatever if we won money on tonight. It's only decided based upon tonight's game. I think it's an under spot for Bill tonight. Doesn't Pittsburgh play Seattle having Rodgers as your QB and you have a revenge narrative? Metcalf is a lock. Yeah, that it is a revenge narrative. That is true. That is true. Maybe week 5 for Godwin. Yep. Is that what's it called? Still not full? Where am I at? Shark. Okay. Oh, we only need one more. Nice. It's gonna hopefully be perfectly timed to roll on into a shark right after this. Yeah, totally. He might score 2. He might score 2 touchdowns. I probably should have. Where the hell? Trevor Lawrence. Bounce back. Trevor Lawrence week. What player getting overlooked on all platforms could go nuclear? I know it sounds strange. I wasn't going to say Brenton Strange, but now I feel like I have to for a cheesy old man pun. I know it sounds strange, but the answer to this question is Brenton Strange. I do think Brenton Strange is good, though I'm not sure he's getting overlooked by any stretch of the imagination. I think just about any Bronco, I would say Cortland Sutton. If Bo Nix could hit the broadside of a barn this week, that would be great. And I think Sutton just gets home. It's just what he does, right? Do you want to talk about somebody who gets on base? He may not be a power hitter. He may be Luis Arraez. And anybody follows baseball, Luis Arraez, former second baseman, now first baseman for the San Diego Padres. There ain't a lot of power, and it ain't sexy, but that motherfucker gets on base. You know what I mean? Troy Franklin also, I'm pretty excited for it. Like when you ask about De'Ami Brown, I do prefer Troy Franklin, but both, I think, similar style of punt plays. The Lions, I think all the Lions are getting overlooked. Gibbs, J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Laporta are all getting overlooked. Travis Hunter in the Jags game is one of the guys that I think is going to fall through the cracks a little bit. Hold on, let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. We talked about the Titans. The Titans guys are an awesome bounce back spot for me at home, right? Fresh off of, now we are getting, so not getting overlooked in all formats. Calvin Ridley, the mega chalk. Let's see what the Eagles are looking like. So AJ Brown, that AJ Brown guy, he could definitely go nuclear. Devontae Smith on the other side. It's a good spot for the Eagles passing game. I'm just not sure that we get it. I'm not sure that that's what the Eagles want to do, and I'm not sure that we're waiting on this shark. I need one more person in this damn shark, but we can do something else in the meantime if we would like. Oh, look, here we go. The splash, 4 out of 5. Boom. Brees is a good one. Gibbs is less shifty, which is less effective. Gibbs is shifty. I mean, JCM's whole game is he's shifty. David Montgomery isn't shifty, and he didn't go anywhere either. I think they're just good. You're gonna have to forgive me if the Green Bay turf, the situation with the Green Bay turf is not changing my opinion on running backs. Favorite contests on Underdog. I avoid the larger stuff. Usually, I do like the smaller field stuff as well. I like to get some volume in the large field stuff. I can't help myself but chase a little bit of the lotto luck every single week, but I primarily focus on the smaller field stuff. I don't know what I would say my favorite tournament is. They have a million of them, but the smaller the field, really, honestly, the better. Would you trade Derrick Henry for Barkley straight up? I would. Yes, I would. I don't think anything has changed about, like, Derrick Henry is really good, but Saquon is more valuable to me. I took Gibbs on the other team, right? Let's do in full point PPR. Let's pull Puka up a little bit here. Yeah, Brees is a good one. Do you like McLaurin to bounce back tonight? I'm buying the Packers defense. Is my general take, especially at home. I'm buying the Packers. So I'm not super excited for any of the Washington guys, though Terry is probably one of the guys that I would be most excited for out of the Washington guys, because I do still think the Green Bay corners can get got. I just think I don't know if anybody's going to have enough time to go get them with the front that the Packers have. Yeah, if you have alternative options, it's a road game. I thought Washington didn't look that good in week 1. They were fine. Like us, right? Look what happened last week against a dollar store version of the Packers defense in the Giants. An awesome pass rush, some talent in the secondary, but an imperfect defense with the Giants. They really slowed down Washington. They really slowed them down. So that's kind of my take. I kind of like scaling Terry up bets. The old ladder. We like to call them ladders. Yes. Climb those rungs of the ladder. I actually don't know let's just use Underdog here. What's the Terry? 55.5. I don't mind it. 1 second. Do they have Troy Frank? I've been waiting. So this is the ladder for sure. The Troy Franklin ladder is going to be my go-to ladder of this week for sure. Let's see here. I guess I should make sure I look at what running back is looking like. No, let's wait. The people were demanding 0 running back teams. Let's give them 0 running back teams. The people were demanding it. That's my guy. Until the books adjust that Troy Franklin is the wide receiver 2 and go to wide receiver 2 for the Broncos. We just keep he went over his reception prop last week, which of course I think I forgot to put the link in the description already. I'll put it in afterwards. If you're a Spike Week subscriber, right on the website, you get access to our betting blueprint every week. Week 1 was pretty solid. Week 2 is up. I will be adding to it as the props and stuff come out, right? When I post on Wednesdays, the props are generally not out except for Thursday Night Football. But Franklin last week was in the betting blueprint, over 1.5 receptions. He got that 6 minutes into the game, and over 20 and a half, 19 and a half, 20 and a half yards, 20 and a half maybe. And he got that in it was literally 6 minutes into the game. And now they've moved him up, obviously, but I don't think it's enough. I definitely don't think it's enough for Troy Franklin. My favorite, I'll also add, from a ladder perspective, I love the old ladder. The great thing about, shift, if you want to shift a little bit into the pick'em and the sports betting side of things, is getting the low, right? Getting a ladder on Puka is impossible. He needs to go for 175 yards. It's not impossible, but the difficulty of the expensive ladders, if you will, right? A really nice high quality ladder is tougher than these cheaper ladders. I didn't take Pollard yet, right? And I love, right? I've laddered Fannin, Sampson. Of course, Sampson did it through the air. I laddered Sampson rushing last week, and that was so tilting. But laddered Fannin. I laddered Fannin up to 80 yards, so we got close. Laddered Sampson and Franklin, and that was a lot of fun. Also laddered Jonathan Taylor up to 100. See, there's an example of Jonathan Taylor's was at 78.5 rushing yards and laddered him up to 130, and we didn't get home anywhere because he didn't play in the fourth quarter. Oh no. Thank you, Schmo. This is okay. Lamar, not ideal, but we got Lamar. That's okay. Shuby over here just letting me auto, soaking up his EV with these idiot streamers. See, the problem is I have my face covered over the draft board, costing me all my dollars. Let's do James Cook. And then put Fields in the queue. Go back over to the Shark. See if we can't still wait till this one wins the Shark. It's going to be sick. Oh, I missed it. Oh, that's funny. Hey, I'm cool with this team. Neighbors, JSN. Yeah, let's just take Fields now over here. And then I'm okay with JSN. I'm kind of he's probably he may be more so falling into the fade territory, if I'm being honest. Let's do Amon-Ra. Let's do Amon-Ra. Build a little Lions deal here. I would like to, God damn it. I would like to get a Laporta share. We'll see about Andrews and Zay, though. I want to go to wide receiver. I have Pollards. I don't want to do Ridley here. I have Neighbors. Let's do Pickens. Let's do Pickens across from Neighbors here. We'll try to do one more after this. This is not what we wanted to do. Okay. That's funny. I like Pittsburgh being all random. Gainwell had 4 targets. That was the most Steelers game I can imagine. Like, just Rodgers throwing a bunch of touchdowns, but not gaining any yards and running 54 plays, scoring 34 points? 34 points on 54 plays, not gaining hardly any yards. So it looks like everything looks kind of better than it is, but is it better? It was so bizarre. They spread it out, right? They played 3 tight ends, all played more than 28 snaps. I might be misremembering, but it was just an absolute bizarro game for. Did Laporta go? God damn it. And let's go ahead and lock up Andrews. I don't know if I want the Lamar double on this one, though. Or do I set up? Who do I set up to stack here? Let's just take Dak and kind of sit back. If we don't get Pickens, you don't get Pickens. But let's just go ahead and lock in Dak, because I don't want to do another Goff team. If I had gotten Laporta, I think I would have done. I would have done obviously Zay with Lamar, and then I could have done Laporta and obviously Goff as my second quarterback. But with this, let's see if we can't get the Dak Pickens team. Obviously, I have Neighbors on this team to create a little game stack there in the Dallas game, which I quite like. Why aren't people in on Kelsey? He has to produce now. Did we watch the game? Xavier Worthy missed basically the whole game last game, and he didn't produce. He had to produce last game, and he didn't do anything. He didn't earn any targets. His touchdown was basically a schemed up play that he did nothing but run down the sideline for. He was wide open. I think he's mostly cooked. It's the Eagles defense. This isn't like some cupcake matchup And I think it's just mostly over for Travis Kelce. Amen. Amen. I like Njoku fine. It is funny that everybody said, you can't draft Harold Finn, and he's the tight end 2 on the Browns. Sir, that's tight end 1 to you. That's wide receiver 1 to you, Harold Fannin. It's nice when it comes together. Can I do a second quarter on Underdog? No, but we can dive into that next week. I haven't had the time yet with in-season stuff, trying to get all the week 2 stuff ready. And so tomorrow morning, no show here on this channel, but I'm going. I think I mentioned to you guys, we're going to be off on Fridays, but I'm going to try to do some recorded stuff. But tomorrow, I'll actually be on the Pat Mayo show with my good friend John Breslin and of course Pat. And so tomorrow will be nothing here on Spike Week, but you can find me over there tomorrow. I'm not sure what time it comes out. We're recording in the morning though. But I haven't had a chance to get to. I'm going to write up a piece on the second quarter strategy that will be on the site, and we're definitely going to talk about it here on the channel and do some drafts next week. So that'll be a second quarter. We'll dive into that next week. I just haven't had a chance to dig into like all the buys, and I haven't put the rankings together or anything like that yet. So okay, I assume no. Okay, Pickens is here, so we definitely want to do Pickens. Sutton goes. I could do Ridley here. I could do T-Mac here. But I really need to do Pearsall. Would you trade Dobbins for Addison? Yes. With this team. Yes. Yes, I would. Yes, I definitely would. Bags of both Njoku and Fannin, not mad. But yes, Adrian, I would. Yeah, second quarter is insane. We do a weekly, it's really like a Zoom call, a Zoom hangout in the Spike Week Discord every week at 6 p.m. Eastern. So for premium folks, we can chop. You can come chop it up with me and Rob and Hacker and all the sharp guys that are in the Discord. Come hang out on Wednesday nights. Last week we were talking about the second quarter some, and my ultimate takeaway is I think it's the craziest best ball tournament that's ever existed. So it's weeks 5 through 8, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. There's teams on bye in every single one of those, and the amount. So Kittle's hurt, and then McBride and Bowers are both on bye in week 8. Laporta is on bye in week 8. There's so many week 8 buys. Like a ton of teams are on bye in week 8, right? Like the Lions are on bye in week 8. Seattle's on bye in week 8. Like, what the hell do you do about, like, are you just like full fading Jahmyr Gibbs? How do you, are we punting it off at tight end? Do you ever draft any George Kittle? Do you not? Do you like? It's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Who's your favorite handcuff running back to stash this year? I would still put Algier and Shipley at the top of the list. Obviously, Tank Bigsby throws a wrench into that. I'm still of a believer that Shipley will like lead the backfield if something were to happen to Saquon. That's my stance. But obviously, I would put Algier in. But like Algier's like not even like a real handcuff, right? That's what, because like Trey Benson, Algier, yeah, Shipley, Brian Robinson, like those guys are the handcuffs, but they also are like getting to play a little bit, right? There's nobody that really. DJ Giddens, I guess, would be the guy that's like he's like basically not going to play unless the game gets out of hand or Jonathan Taylor gets hurt. Is one of those. I think DJ Giddens is a good one as well. No update. He didn't practice. It's not a broken rib. So the only real update with the Shipley stuff is that the reporting was full of shit. I like a little bit of Ridley here. Do I do Ridley or do I just do the double stack for Lamar? Let's just do the double. Let's just go ahead and get Zay. we turned out all right here. Got a little lucky getting Lamar Jackson. Anyway. All right, uno más. One more whale, and then we're gonna get out of here. Get everybody heading on into week 2. They don't want Shipley to do returns anymore, which is good. Yeah, I thought it's interesting because I totally understand it. Some people would call it cope. I don't think it's cope. I've certainly downgraded Will Shipley. My expectations, have certainly been. My expectations were low, but holy fuck, the Will Shipley bags are in worse shape. I wouldn't have drafted as much Will Shipley if I knew that Tank Bigsby was on the team. But no one knew that Tank Bigsby would get traded to the Eagles. Like, it's easy to sit back after it happens. I'm still cool with having a bunch of Will Shipley. He has an oblique, right? It's an oblique injury. It's not a rib fracture, and I'm not overly concerned. And I think that I actually thought it was like somewhat bullish for them to be like, so he got banged up on a kick return, right? This guy, like, whether it's Will Shipley or anyone else, I think this would be the takeaway. He got banged up on the kick return, and then they went and traded a guy. And the first thing they say about the guy they traded for is like, we really like him as a kick returner. We need him for special teams. Now, he's obviously, I kind of like Tank. Like the Tank Bigsby shares are like in worse shape, but like if Saquon goes down, we could like hit a double whammy between. It's weird. It's a very weird situation. But I think it's like fine for Shipley. And I think it's fine for Tank Bigsby. He needs an injury now. But honestly, with what we saw in week 1, he probably needed an injury anyway. He might have needed 2 injuries or 3 injuries in Jacksonville. I think if Saquon goes down, Tank and Shipley split the backfield, and they're both guys you really want on teams. So it's like, it's fine. It's totally fine. Yeah, he had 3 carries in the first quarter of that game. I think he's a part of the plan. I don't think Tank Bigsby changes that. Tank Bigsby's not taking passing down work. That's for sure. That's not what Tank does. That's what Shipley does. And hilariously, the 3 carries, the third one or the second one was a swing pass, but Hurts threw it backwards. So like it was a manufactured screen, right? He gets a carry, and then they go no huddle, and they throw a screen pass to Will Shipley. I thought it was really bullish. So I like, such a troll. Like, just go away. Like, it's not funny. Let's see here. Gibbs. Let's do Gibbs and McBride. Gibbs and McBride. JCM breakout tonight. If no Sharbs over JCM, that's a great question. I've been known. I'm lighter on Bill. I think I would play Sharbs over him, but it's not a very good matchup for Sharbs either. Although the Jets really did run all over the Steelers, so I'm Sharbs. Like, Sharbs is also like kind of the lead in a committee, and that's what we're hoping Bill is going to be. Sharbs certainly has the goal line role. It appears Sharbs has passing down chops, and was the lead in the Seattle backfield in week 1. I don't really know why they would change, but I think I would prefer Sharbs. There's just like also more pass catching upside for him. Yeah, never was. AJ Dillon like is about to be gone, right? Assuming if Shipley is healthy, AJ Dillon is not going to be an Eagle anymore. This would be really sick if we could get another BTJ share here. Schmo is probably not going to let that happen, but we shall see. Okay, let's do BTJ. Wait on running back. Let's get in. We can get into our bag a little bit at running back, maybe. How about a Hurts team, actually? Let's do a Hurts team. AJ Brown or Devontae Smith, I don't really care who it turns into. Are you just playing Tootin in DFS every week? No. I'll play Travis Etienne. I'm not sure how much Tootin is even going to play to start. I think it's exciting for Tootin over the course of the season, but up until this point, the information that we have is that Travis Etienne is the lead running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. LaQuint Allen is playing a very real role. LaQuint Allen played more than Bashal Tootin did last week. It's possible that it's just a very specific role of like the pass catching role for LaQuint, but it's also possible he could steal like some high value touches in that backfield, which is bad for Etienne. Can Tootin steal away the job from Etienne? I mean, Etienne was awesome in week 1, so I'm not like ready to crown Bashal Tootin anything in the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. No, I mean, Terrence, just you literally do that. Like, what are we doing here? If you can't own what you are in the comments, you definitely don't own when you're wrong. So like, why do we even do this? Like, come on, man. Yeah, I digress as well. It's just silly. We got enough of the silly stuff. Like when you come in and all you do is gallivant around and tell someone that they're wrong. Like, why are you watching? Just go somewhere else, man. It's okay. Not everybody has to like everybody. Not everybody. I don't watch everybody else's content either. It's okay. Nobody's offended. Let's see. Do I want to do anything with the Chiefs on the Eagles team? I don't think so. Let's get ET. Do I want ETN and BTJ on the same team? Yeah, let's do it once. I think it's fine. I'm totally cool with that. Pearsall or Devontae Smith this week? You can give me Ricky Pearsall. I'll take Ricky Pearsall. I do like Devontae as well, who Haim says. And I like Devontae this week. So it's not to say I don't want to have Devontae Smith. Just George Kittle is out. There's obviously no Brandon Ayuk. Juwan Jennings is banged up. I know it's Mac Jones, but it's also the Saints. And I think Shanny can scheme up enough stuff with Mac. There's obviously the funny bit / narrative that he supposedly wanted Mac Jones when they drafted Trey Lance, right? So like he's finally reunited with the guy that he wanted all along, and maybe he'll show some things, but they did pay Brock Purdy $50 million, so it's good. That's just I don't know what that means. No, please give your opinions for sure. Hurts Devontae feels fun. Pearsall is the play there for sure. I didn't see the question. Was just thinking out loud. Totally. I like the Eagles passing game. I straight up like I like the Eagles this week, but I like the passing game a little bit more. Obviously, like the whole bounce back nature. It's not even just that. I do think it's a good spot against the Chiefs defense. Obviously, Steve Spagnuolo, a little more pressure defense. You saw they saw what the Chargers did to them. Good God, last week it was a bloodbath for their defense. Two Jags tees probably one of the correct plays here. And then let's go scroll it down a little bit here. I just think it's really hard for me not to play Pearsall on like all these goddamn teams. I don't really understand why he's going so cheap, but we'll take it. He's the wide receiver 1 for the San Francisco 49ers. I know Mac Jones is there, but it's the New Orleans Saints. Like, Shanny is not quite KOC probably in terms of, and McVay in terms of just like Houdiniing his way to awesome quarterback play, no matter who is back there. But like, we just talked, Mac Jones was fine in Jacksonville last year. Not awesome, but he certainly helped feed Brian Thomas. My favorite stat is everybody's fixated, understandably, on if you look at Brian Thomas's splits with Trevor Lawrence versus Mac Jones, the Mac Jones splits are like insane. And my theory is, now he didn't really have that guy in New England, of course, so he struggled. Mac just blocks onto if he has the one like superstar guy, that's what Mac's going to do. Because if you recall, the aforementioned Devontae Smith won the Heisman in college, right? The season that Devontae Smith had in college is one of the most absurd things you've ever seen in your entire life. And his quarterback was Mac Jones. Mac Jones just like latches on to whoever this superstar player is. That is not the right Devontae Smith. That is a current Devontae Smith. That's hilarious. That is a current Devontae Smith who's also on Alabama. Bizarre. In 2020, in 13 games, Devontae Smith had 117 catches, 1,856 yards, and 23 touchdowns, plus another rushing score. Granted, only 6 yards, but plus another rushing score. His quarterback was Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones, this is an endearing quality about himself. I think Mac Jones is aware that like he's maybe not that great. And he says, I'm just going to go throw it to that dude who's really good. I'm going to throw it to my superstar guy. And he did it with BTJ, and he did it with Devontae Smith. Now, is Ricky Pearsall the superstar guy? I'm not so sure, but I think you probably get a lot of Ricky Pearsall and a lot of Christian McCaffrey out of Mac Jones because you know where his bread gets buttered. And that is, like I said, that is an endearing quality. He may not be an awesome quarterback, but I respect that about Mac Jones for sure. Let's see here. KC fan here. This is a Hurts week and not a Saquon week. Maybe I get cooked, but that's how I view it. I mean, I'm with you. I prefer the passing game to Saquon, but you can also like Saquon can get home in the passing game. Saquon, he's not like certainly not like a bad click or anything like that. I just prefer the passing game, and I'm with you from the Kansas City perspective. In a PPR league, rest of season upside. Who is your preference between Dante Thornton and Cedric Tillman? I like Tillman, actually. I think it's going to be a little bit tricky when to start him, but he's also a young pass catcher. I think that the Browns, kind of know that they're going to want to play these young guys over the course of this season. And that's why we'll see a lot of Sampson. That's why I think we'll see a lot of Fannin. And they're going to try to see what, is Tillman a part of the future? They're I think well aware they're not winning the Super Bowl this year, but Joe Flacco is helping, give them a little bit of an ability to see right before they go to a Gabriel or a Shador who might hurt the wide receivers than the pass catchers, just the overall offense. Having Flacco out there to kind of evaluate some of these guys, I think is helpful. But that is going to do it for us here. Week 2 blueprint at Spike Week. A ton of fun drafting. Hopefully everybody is having a wonderful Thursday. Fantasy football can take us away and we can have a lot of fun. It is going to be an awesome week 2, an awesome game tonight, Packers and Commanders. If you can hit the like button on your way out, that would be outstanding. And join us in the Discord, of which there's a link in the description. You get free access to the premium portion of the Discord if you are a Spike Week premium member. And of course, the betting blueprint, the weekly rankings, DFS and DFS blueprint. There's futures still out there that you can go bet that are up on the site and everything there in between. Come hang with us at Spike Week. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Guest appearance on the Pat Mayo show. I think it comes out tomorrow. I'm honestly not sure. It's not my show. And I will see you guys Sunday morning on Roto Grinders and Monday back in the Best Ball Basement with Rob. I'll catch you guys next time, tomorrow, Monday, Sunday. Next time. Enjoy week 2. Peace.
Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.